Welcome back, everybody, to the Guard Your Savings podcast. I'm your co-host, Doug Turnbull, but the main man is Dolph Janis, the founder, insurance professional, and I love it says this in your email signature, Dolph, income strategist. I love that. From Clear Income Strategies Group out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Jump on to guardyoursavings.com. That'll redirect you right to where you need to go to get in touch with Dolph Janis and the team. You can also dial them up. You know this, Dolph, 704-919-0149. How you doing today?
I am absolutely fantastic. How are you doing? I love that 2025 is up and rolling.
Dolph, we just ran into each other recently here in Atlanta. The marketing company that your firm works with, that I work for, Impact Partnership, had a bunch of people in your field in town, and you got to see some inspirational people and see other people in your industry too. So how was it?
With the exception of it getting cut short because of the ice storm, snowstorm, and stuff like that, listening to Leader Foundation book writer John Maxwell was just nothing more than back twirling. It was just unbelievable learning about different ways of looking. And that's what we're going to talk about today, different ways of looking at your life and what's going on. And then Coach K, I mean, I'm not a Duke fan by any means, but Coach K talked for an hour and a half and it felt like it was 5 minutes.
Wow.
Just hearing his stories and stuff like that. And then of course, the Kyle Peace Foundation, hearing the stories of, I mean, imagine a brother with a chair that can't move and they compete in a triathlon in Hawaii. It was tear-jerking. It was unbelievable.
You could sign up for triathlons, but they had to qualify for the Ironman. And, of course, Brent Pease, the older brother, or actually, I don't know if he's older or younger brother, but Brent Pease, the brother, is one carrying his quadriplegic brother, Kyle Pease, and they use that foundation to help other people be able to do the same and have a more normal life and be more athletic. That was tear-jerking. And we, as employees here at Impact, had a presentation for them, too. And they actually had different stories. I was thinking I was going to hear the same thing twice. So they go all over and help with that. And I know they help coach you advisors too. And I got to say, Dolph, you talk about leadership and tenacity. A lot of people in your industry, okay, you're great with numbers. You know these strategies, Clear Income Strategies, name of your firm. But you also sometimes have to learn how to manage people, not just your clients, but even the ones in the office. So it's good to hear from John Maxwell and Kyle Pease and Brent Pease and also Mike Krzyzewski.
Couldn't agree anymore, Doug. I mean, I've been doing this now for 21 years. It's hard to believe how time just flies by. Yeah. And every day I try to learn something new. And I always tell people I'm an educator first and an advisor second.
Yeah.
And if you can educate someone, like my daughter, educating her every day, trying to learn all these new graphs and diagrams and illustrations and the differences, it's a joy because when you can teach somebody something new, it's almost a pleasure to yourself at the same time. That's what Krzyzewski talked a lot about, too, is when he's coaching those pros in the Olympics, he was talking about Kobe Bryant and LeBron James and all these superstars. And he's coaching them like kids again, saying, hey, no, you're going to play USA basketball. You're not going to play NBA basketball. You're going to play USA basketball. And teaching those guys the way to win, because you got to learn how to lose before you can learn how to win. And these guys are making multi-million dollars out there. And that's what the fun about educating is, whether it's through finance or through life. It's a joy of teaching. And that's what we pride ourselves on here at this company, Clear Income Strategies Group, is let us educate you on the different safe, protected options out there, and then you can worry about the risk side on another person.
That's going to tee us up for what we need to talk about next here. In our past episodes, Dolph, we spoke of the beginning of the year checklist. We talked about that at the end of the year to tee you up for 2025. And then we also talked about what anybody with a portfolio basically should do. So those are our past episodes. Check them out, Apple, Spotify, and under the media tab at clearincomeforlife.com, or you can go right to it by typing in guardyoursavings.com, the name of this podcast. Of course, today, Dolph, I'm going to play a clip from a comedian, Zoltan Kazas, okay? And I think that's going to perfectly set up your topic here. So listen to what he has to say, because I really relate to this.
He goes, well, when are you going to retire? And I'm like, I don't know. What are people saying? And he goes, well, a lot of people now are saying 68. And I'm like, all right, put me down for 68. And then he goes, all right, now how long do you need this retirement money to last you? And I'm like, are you asking me when I'm going to die? I don't know. And he goes, well, a lot of people are saying that they need this money for 15 years after 68. And I'm like, well, what happens if I live 16 years? And that's right, I think he got annoyed because he cut me off. He goes, look, do you want it or not? So I'm retiring at 68, and I need to be dead 15 years after that. If I live beyond that, you guys are going to be seeing some GoFundMes going up.
So the reason I played that, you know why, Dolph, is because you talked about thinking for yourself versus being told. And Zoltan here, at least for the purposes of his stand-up routine, wanted to be told.
He hit it dead on the nose. I mean, dead on the nose. It's like I had this good client came in, David, lives in the upper part of Concord. He was telling me about this whole thing about think, don't be told. Because there's so many different things out there that people want to be told. It's like, what are you going to have for dinner? I don't know. What are you going to have? I don't know. What are you going to have? I mean, back and forth. They almost don't want to order until someone else tells them what they're going to have first so they can make a decision. When it comes to life in general, you have to think before every single thing you do. Your mind is an amazing thing up there. I mean, I don't know how big it is or how small it is, but it's up there somewhere. And it has you thinking all the time about everything. Like sometimes you overthink things. It's like, oh, if I do this, that, and the other, this is going to happen. Then this could happen. Then this could happen. And then guess what? Nothing happens. But when someone tells you to do it, it could be right or wrong. And a lot of people just go ahead and do it. It's like, hey, Doug, walk across that street even though there's 10 buses coming. Oh, now you have to think, well, should I do that? Or, well, he's telling me to do it. So that means, do I have to do it? No.
How did the story of Adam and Eve go? When Adam took a bite of the apple and then confronted by God about it, he goes, the woman told me.
Yeah, it's always the caddy's fault. But it's amazing if you think about in life. It's like you have your friends, you're at a bar or you're at a club or you're at a restaurant or wherever you be, and you say to that person, this works every time, don't look over your left shoulder. What happens? That person looks over their left shoulder. It's almost instantaneously. If you're sitting there talking and you start staring at something, what do? They look over to see what you're staring at. It's curiosity. But again, you have to start thinking. So when it comes to your retirement plan, every single person in the last 21 years I've worked with, there's not the same story twice. There's a lot of similarities. But the success people, about like what the comedian was saying, one question you cannot answer in this world, and nobody knows the answer to this question, Doug. When are you going to die? When is that unfortunate day that you leave this earth going to happen? Nobody knows. I can tell you the date of your birthday. I can tell you the date of your anniversary. I can tell you what you're going to have for dinner next week. If you have dinner next week or whatever, I can know what day the Super Bowl is going to be. But I don't know what day it's going to come.
Right.
Live today to enjoy tomorrow, because tomorrow is not automatically going to be there. Every day you wake up is a gift. And when you think of it life that way and you cherish that way, it's like take away the hatred, take away the disappointment, because a priest once told me when I was back in Catholic school and I was an altar boy. Yes, I was an altar boy for 2 years. It was one of the best learning experiences of my life because he taught me something I've lived on ever since I was 13 years old when that happened. And that's every moment you're upset, every moment you're angry, every moment you're depressed is the moment of happiness you're taking away from yourself.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I've lived by those rules. I talk to clients about those rules because you have to think what's best for you. You have to think what's best for your family. You have to think what's best for your future. People can tell you on the outside, well, my guy told me to do this, and my guy said I'm going to live to 87 years old because my life expectancy said, my guy says I'm going to have enough money to spend this much money. Okay, fine. Go out and do it. Prove it. Is it guaranteed? The one thing in life that you want is that guaranteed income you can never outlive. Anybody can save up money. I mean, it's not easy because it's a sacrifice of putting money away that you're not going to spend till later. But the thing is how long is that money going to last? And so when you're getting to retirement, God, thankful that my parents are still alive. They're both 79 years old.
Praise God. Yeah.
They're both independent. They've been divorced since I was young, but they're both remarried, but they're living on their own. They're not dependent on me and my brother. And that's one of the things that they raised us saying, I don't want to ever be dependent on somebody else except the person I'm living with. And that is thinking ahead. When you're being told what's going to be ahead, you're setting yourself up for failure. And I always say I always say this wrong. How does that work? Something for failure is a failure. Failure to plan is a plan for failure, something of that nature.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's amazing that way how that works out in life. Because if you think about today, about you want to do tomorrow, instead of someone telling you what you're going to do tomorrow, your plan is already going backwards because what's right for you is not right for me. Because I'm a golfer, you're a race car fan. We look. I'm trying to go straight down the middle, and you're trying to turn left. So there's two different ways.
We got to get one of those in each show, don't we?
I know we have to, but see, I like to take the holistic approach, like they do on Seinfeld. It's like, hey, let's do the holistic approach. One question I've never been able to ask her is, what does that mean? What does the holistic approach really mean, Doug?
The whole thing, all the options.
Yeah, you got to keep
from all angles.
Keep your mind free, and remember, at the end of the day, you're the most important person in your life. Then you have your family. Of course, God is right up there if you're religious, if you believe in him and stuff. I'm not bringing religion into the show or nothing like that by any means. but I'm a very religious person. I believe in God. There's two things in this world I truly believe. One, there's a God and I'm not him. Those are the way I look at it.
That's important. Yeah.
But when I wake up, I have a little checklist every morning that I create and what I'm going to do, what's the most important, and go down. And of course, things change throughout the day and you have to reorganize the checklist. And we've just created a checklist for everything. And we have it on our website now, everything down to planning for the week, planning for the month, planning for your contributions, planning for your taxes, planning for your Social Security. It is, as you would say, the holistic approach to checklist. And it's like, what's important to you? Or you just want someone to tell you, Doug, hey, this is what you're going to do for Social Security. This is what you're going to do. This and there. Don't have someone told. Think it and do it yourself.
So, and I like this. There's a difference between getting blindly told or forcefully told and having a guide. And would you say, Dolph, that you and the Clear Income Strategies Group team are more guides, as people who've seen this redundancy over and over again, and you have a good idea of the right things to tell people, but you leave it up to them to enact it and give them like a pathway or handlebars to get there?
At the end of the day, I give suggestions and let them make their choice. And that's what the client, it's not a one size fits all, which is another show we're going to do again. I think one of our next shows is going to be like that, but yeah, it's not a one size fits all in this world, but give people the options. It's like, what's important to you? Is it money? Is it legacy planning? Is it vacations? I mean, what is important in your life? And how are we going to succeed to do that? I mean, how do people win like that? You were telling me about NASCAR now. I guess you just have to win one race in order to qualify for the playoffs.
Right.
Which is probably the most I've talked about NASCAR in my whole life. But you were telling me that this guy's won 2 or 3 championships, and he's had a horrible season, wins one race, and goes on and wins every year.
Joey Logano has had very average, I wouldn't say horrible, average seasons, and then he gets hot in the playoffs. And we see it in other sports. I mean, other people can relate. We've seen like the 2021 Atlanta Braves win 88 games of the regular season, get hot in the playoffs, and you win at the right time, and that could bring more glory.
Yes, sometimes it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And Like I said, it's never too early to start retirement planning. It's never too late to start retirement planning. But the one thing I want to stress the most, it's never too late to educate yourself on anything. The more you educate yourself, the more it opens your mind to different options, and different options lead to different results, and different results leads to happiness, and happiness leads to glory. And then you just go inside. And too many people will hold on to something, and it makes them so mad. It's like, I'm going to hold on to this thing, and it just makes me so mad. I can't let go. 10 years later, it's like, oh, I still can't believe Keith dropped that ball at first place and cost us that game. It's like, the game's 10 years old. I mean, it's just, boom, forget about it. Move on and go over the bridge. Hence, that's why I wrote my book, Cross the Bridge to Retirement, a couple of years ago. It was like, forget about the past. You got to cross the bridge to get to where you want to go in the golden years.
Well, yeah, and I was going to mention the book. I'm glad you did, because it's obvious that you love to educate people in the importance of education by having written that book. Bitterness, just like you mentioned, holding on to something, is like drinking poison and expecting someone else or something else to get sick. All right. It's only going to affect you if you hold on to that. So, Dolph, I mean, there's a lot of just great life advice here. Obviously, there's a great financial rubric, if you will, for how to go forward in retirement and plan. Don't just get blindly told things. Get guided. So someone hears this and they're like, hey, that's not the approach I've been on. I've just been kind of told things that said, do whatever the person says, and they want to speak to you about it. How do they take those steps, and what happens to people that get in touch with you for the first time?
Well, we're in touch any which way you want. Any kind of social media outlets out there. We have our own texting line that you can text us any questions. You can email us questions. You can call us with questions. You can submit questions on the line. We're always available. I mean, if you look at our website, we're always available. We're going to try to find. We're not going to say, hey, we'll get back to you in 24 to 48 hours. We do our best Monday through Sunday to get a hold of anybody any time of day. And our Guard Your Savings page has a big part about the podcast, but the second part of our Guard Your Savings is just a plethora of educational material that we offer. And it's complimentary. We're not charging anything for it. Other advisors hate me. A lot of advisors out there hate me, saying, how can you tell them that? Don't tell them that. You can't tell them that. I said, why not? They need to know. If they don't know, then they're not going to know what's happening. And guess what? 3 years later, they're going to have something that they don't like. We don't want that.
Well, that's correct. So you just want to get people educated first. You have that 20-minute Ask Anything session. You have a Where Do You Stand plan, just so you got to where things lay out in that very moment with your finances. And you get all of that set up. You can either go to guardyoursavings.com, if that's easier to remember. Go to clearincomeforlife.com, takes you to the full webpage for Clear Income Strategies Group, or You can dial them up, folks. There's the email option as well. Dial them up, 704-919-0149. And, of course, Dolph, when you have that first conversation, that's not a commitment. Well, I have to work with Dolph now. You told me before we started today, what's wrong with a second opinion, right?
Nothing hurts on a second opinion, and sometimes a third opinion. You go to a doctor, and the doctor says, hey, I have to remove your nose because it doesn't look right. Are you going to say, okay, remove the nose? No. You're going to probably go to another doctor and say, hey, what's wrong with my nose? And then that doctor says, well, it needs to be repaired. But then they're like, let me go to a third doctor. And then, boom, you make your decision on which way you want to go. The same thing with your financial portfolio. This is the money you earned. This is the money you saved up. This is the money you need to protect. How are you going to do that? I mean, are you going to a captive? Are you going to an independent agent? At the end of the day, it never hurts to find out something more and educate yourself and say, things change in life, Doug. I mean, what car you're driving today or what way you're walking to work today might have to change because of traffic. It never hurts to alter your route once in a while and see, maybe I'm not on the right spot. I mean, maybe I do need to change my plans. That's where we go with it.
You definitely need someone to help you, not just to tell you what to do, folks, but certainly need a guide through a very tricky time, a retirement, a very tricky part of your life, finances. Again, clearincomeforlife.com. Dolph Janis and the team at Clear Income Strategies Group, that is the place to go. And Dolph, thanks for sharing some of that wisdom with us today. You've been in this industry over 2 decades, and we're glad we could hear it.
It's been my pleasure. Look forward to talking to any one of you. Thank you for listening to the podcast, first of all, from the bottom of my heart. And we have shows every other Wednesday, and take care and God bless.
Folks, thanks to our producer, Alfred Romero, for getting this produced and published and put out there. Thank you all for listening to the Guard Your Savings podcast. I'm Doug Turnbull. He's Dolph Janis. We'll have another episode coming your way soon.
By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance products, including annuities offered through Randall Janis, North Carolina Insurance License number 8483456. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties. Dolph Janis is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Dolph Janis is licensed in your state, please call 704-919-0149.